Hello everyone, and welcome to Retro Brick Reviews, where today we'll be taking a look at LEGO Collection number 71022, the LEGO Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts Collectible Minifigure Series. These released as blind bags in August of 2018 and retailed for about $4 individually. The series contains 22 minifigures to collect, and I'll just be going through all of them sequentially. And without any more further ado, let's get started with the very first figure of the series, Mr. Harry James Potter. So here we have our first figure, which is Harry Potter. And starting with his accessories, you can see that his main accessory is the Hedwig owl piece. Now this is not a new version, we've been getting this same Hedwig since 2010. But I think the printing on this one is of a higher quality. The gray lines are a lot thicker and a lot cleaner. So that's good. And his other accessory is just the standard brown wand, and since the wands come on sprues of 2, that means that every single figure that comes with the wand, you actually get a spare of their wand in the set. Meaning that if you collect this whole series like I did, you're going to end up with an insane amount of spare wands, which is fantastic. Anyway, this version of Harry, as well as all 3 members of the main trio, is supposed to be based off of the Prisoner of Azkaban. And before you question that, since there was a Prisoner of Azkaban set that included the film 1 and 2 figures, that's what I thought too at first. But it turns out that at some point LEGO released a poster book, and sure enough, these designs are used for the Prisoner of Azkaban. Not for the Goblet of Fire, which is what I'd originally thought. But yeah, so this is Prisoner of Azkaban Harry, and for that I think he's a reasonably good figure. The one thing I'm not positive on is the hairpiece, which is very long and shaggy, completely covers his scar, and I think this would be a good piece for Goblet of Fire, but they actually used the Years 1 and 2 Harry hairpiece for that, at least according to that poster book. So, I feel so for for Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry's hair shouldn't be this long. I feel so the best piece would probably be the Anakin Skywalker hairpiece in black. I think that would work pretty well. Alternatively, maybe you could use this, the standard just black hairpiece, but I think this long one, it works just fine in my opinion, it's just not great. The face print I think works pretty well for Daniel Radcliffe. Just looking at it, it just looks like an aged up version of the Years 1 and 2 face, which I think is quite nice. Now, personally, I don't like this face as much as the 2010 head, but that's probably just nostalgia talking, as this is definitely the more accurate face. Now, unfortunately, the problem with Harry and a lot of figures in the series is that he doesn't get an alternate face. And while I get it, because you can also get a Harry in all 5 of the Harry Potter sets, as well as a polybag, so that makes 6, kind of the issue is that this is the only Prisoner of Azkaban Harry, so if you want to have this Harry having, like, an angry expression, you have to resort back to the 2010 head, and, well, if you want any other expressions, you're just straight out of luck. So that's a bit annoying, but I don't really mind, since I know that when LEGO does make Prisoner of Azkaban and Goblet of Fire sets this summer, we'll get this face with different expressions. So I don't really mind there. And now the torso and legs are really what makes this figure so great, because when LEGO revealed the Hogwarts Great Hall and the figures were still just in their standard gray jumpers, I knew that the minifig series was going to have them in their robes. Now, what I thought they were going to do is I thought they were going to use the graduation robe pieces from Series 5 with, like, purple printed on the inside and use those for the robes. But I'm so glad they just printed the robes, because thinking about it, that would have looked terrible, but this looks so good and clean. Starting off, you can see the torso. It does have the jumper printed underneath, and all the colors are very well done. They must have put an extra coat of white under there, because, like, even the white looks white. It doesn't look gray. It's not washed out at all. This is a phenomenal-looking figure. You have dark red for the insides of the cloak up at the top. You have the Gryffindor badge. You have the striped tie. It's perfect. This is a perfect torso. And then you have the legs, which are a bit simple, admittedly, but I think they look quite nice. You get a bit of printing and hey, wait a second. Look at those legs. Those aren't normal minifigure legs, nor are they short legs. These, my friends, are mid-legs. A brick and a plate tall. They can still pose. They have the same standard belt piece, but the legs are just a plate shorter. It looks great. Awesome new part to get. Great for teenage minifigures, and It's clearly not remaining exclusive to this series, as LEGO is using these for Padme Amidala in the upcoming 20th anniversary Pod Racer set. And I would also presume that we'd also be getting these for the Harry Potter sets in 2019. And yeah, just a great new piece. Around the back, Harry does have some pretty simple printing for a hood, with just some gray lines and some dark red in there. But again, it just looks... It's really good, clean printing. Like, this figure isn't super complex, but it just looks fantastic. Like, this is a collectible minifigure, alright. A lot of people seem to think that for a figure to be really worthy as a CMF, it has to have all sorts of arm printing and leg printing, double molding, new parts. But this is a phenomenally it's such a good figure. I cannot sing my praises for this enough. So I won't try. Instead, we'll move on to the next fantastic minifigure in the series, which is, of course, Miss Hermione Jean Granger. Yeah, I thought that Ron would be the second figure in the series too, but I mean, I guess Hermione is more popular, at least when it comes to movie fans, because, well, in the movies, they made Hermione a better character and they made Ron a worse character. But I think this figure is a fantastic one. Terrible segue, I know, but I couldn't think of a good way to do it. Anyway, starting off, the accessory here is Crookshanks, which is the one downside with this figure, because while it is great to get a Crookshanks, even though I think it looks a bit more like Miss Norris, I mean, like, it's the right color, I think the face is very well done with the eyes and the mouth. It's great. But the problem is that, first off, aside from the face, there's no printing. So it does look a bit simple. Maybe we could have done with a bit of shaggy printing on the sides, but I mean, this cat is way too thin to be Crookshanks, because Crookshanks is a wide boy, so I feel as though maybe a new cat mold was in order, or maybe the old kitten mold that they used for the Crookshanks in 2010. Or, well, that one could also be Miss Norris. I'm still not positive. I have a book that says it's Miss Norris, but I remember from back in 2010, the LEGO Harry Potter website showed it being Crookshanks. So I don't know. Anyway, the old kitten mold, I think, could have worked well here. Hermione's wand, just like in the sets, is a dark tan, which I think is alright. It's nothing fantastic, but it's nice. Hermione's hairpiece is the Pop Star hairpiece, just molded in brown. So not a new mold, but I think it looks good. I know a lot of people don't like this hairpiece, but I personally do. I think especially around the back it looks fantastic. From the front, I can kind of see where people are coming from about it not really looking that great. But I mean, aside from just the little bits around the sides, I think it works well. It frames the face well. I like this hairpiece for teenage Hermione. The face is another really good one. I think it just has the right amount of Emma Watson-ness to it. I guess that's the best way to say it. It looks great. Still no alternate, which is unfortunate, but I mean, I think this sort of knowing smile fits Hermione pretty well. The torso is different from Harry's, with the robes being clasped, and the legs, therefore, are also different, since you can also see a bit of the red interior of the robes. Pretty cool stuff. The back printing is not the same as Harry's, but it is very similar. So you have the hood with just a couple creases, although just comparing it, you can see that they are different. Hermione's hood is a bit thinner. Yeah, that is Hermione Granger. Another fantastic figure to add to this collection, and now let's go for figure number 3 to finish off the golden trio with Ron Weasley, as I failed to feebly shove Crookshanks onto the stand where he's obviously not going to fit. Yeah. So here I have the collectible version of Ron Weasley, and this is just another fantastic figure. And this is the clearly Prisoner of Azkaban one. Like, Harry and Hermione, they both could have gone either Prisoner of Azkaban or Goblet of Fire. Heck, Hermione also probably could have even worked for Order of the Phoenix. But this Ron is very Prisoner of Azkaban because of his hairpiece, which is actually the Han Solo hairpiece molded in orange, which I think is just, that's such a good recolor. I love that. It just looks so good. It's such a perfect piece. I never would have even thought of it. It's wonderful. Ron's face print, I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit off. He should have some freckles on his face, but other than that, I think it works well for Rupert Grint. I like how there's a bit more space between the eyes and mouth than normal. I think it works, and yeah, just a good figure. His accessory is Scabbers, and I forgot to mention it at the beginning of this video, but this video will contain spoilers for, like, all the Harry Potter movies and the first Fantastic Beasts movie, so click away now if you don't want to know the truth about Scabbers. 3, 2, 1. So here we have Mr. Peter Pettigrew with, this is actually not the same version that comes in the sets. It is, for the most part. You can see the eyes on mine are a little wonky, but I don't mind. It looks cute. But up top, he has the little bald spot from when Scabbers started losing fur because he worried that Sirius was going to track him down, which eventually he did. The torso on Ron, I think, is another great one, where you have the shirt completely the robe's completely undone, the shirt not tucked in, tie undone. It's just a wonderfully messy and just a Ron torso. I also like the little pocket off to the side. That's a very nice touch that I never would have even thought of including, but, like, the designers of these figures are just, it's wonderful. The legs are the same as Harry, which is a bit of a cop-out, but, I mean, it's not as though you can really do anything else for the legs, so I don't really mind. Still looks great. The hood this time is a bit wider than Harry and Hermione. Yeah, some real subtle changes here, but it is different. So yeah, that's Ron Weasley. So now let's move on to what I would consider to be the only bad figure in the series. Okay, maybe less bad and more just boring. This is Draco Malfoy in Quidditch robes, and let's start with his accessories, of which he actually gets 3. Starting off here, you have the Golden Snitch, which is a good piece to get, as the only other set this comes in is the Quidditch Match set, which is only a $40 set, but I think it's good to be able to get multiple Snitches. It's just a wonderfully molded piece. I love it. Draco's next accessory, which is probably my favorite part of the entire figure, it's his Nimbus 2001 broomstick, which is just the standard broomstick piece in dark green. I mean, yeah, it's not entirely accurate, but I just think it looks cool. And then you get his brown wand. Yeah, dark brown again, same thing as Harry's. And, well, okay, maybe it's less that I think the broom is cool, but at least the fact that it's something, like, that's exclusive. The rest of this figure, just bland. I mean, like, the torso is the exact same one that comes in the Quidditch Match set. Except here, I guess it's a bit different, since the black printing here feels a bit raised for some reason. Not sure what that's about. Guess just manufacturing differences, so I guess technically it's different. Like, if you turn this, you can see the black printing shine a little, and if you were to rub your finger across it, you'd feel that it is raised a little. But then, the legs are my biggest problem with this figure, because even if they wanted to reuse the torso, which, for Quidditch Draco, I can't really say against. I mean, it would have been nice to maybe get the robes, like, open, so you could see the jumper underneath, but I don't really mind. But, like, they should have given him mid-legs. Like, white mid-legs would have been really good, but instead, I guess they wanted to go for just a Chamber of Secrets Draco, which is lame. His cape is just the short cape in green, and I think it works well. I know that it is inconsistent with how young Harry, as the Seeker in the Quidditch Match set, had a long cape, but I think it does work in that, number one, Draco would make sure that his uniform was very perfectly fitted, while Harry would just, probably just grab whatever uniform they had. And also, because, forgetting that, Harry is a first year in that set, and this is Draco as a second year. So they would be a bit older, so obviously they would be a little larger, so therefore the robes would be less big on Draco. So I think that's a good touch. He has the same back printing as in the Quidditch Match set. The hairpiece is the same one that comes in the Hogwarts Great Hall, and also in that weird Comic-Con Aquaman set, but it's a good piece to get, as I think it's a good color. And then the face is pretty disappointing here, because this had the potential to be a really great Draco face. The best, in fact. Because, obviously, the faces in the Great Hall were pretty bad, in my opinion. But this Draco, it's nearly perfect. Like, you see that line next to the side of the mouth? I think that's what ruins it, because, like, if I cover up that line, and you just look at the face, I think that looks perfect for young Tom Felton. But the line just completely ruins it. Like, if they removed that line, this would be a perfect face, and I would, even if the rest of the figure was kind of crap, I would love it, because I love Draco Malfoy's character, And it would have been just so great to get the perfect minifigure representation of him, even if it was really just in the face. But that didn't happen, and still the best Draco face, in my opinion, is the original, from 2001. And that's embarrassing, LEGO. But, yes, this figure is a bit of a disappointment. I know some people are defending this guy by saying that, oh, well, there weren't many other options. Apparently forgetting that there weren't many other options for Harry, Ron, or Hermione either, so they just put them in their Gryffindor robes. I would have much preferred to have just gotten a Draco figure in Slytherin robes for this series, but oh well, I guess. I think this is fine, just definitely disappointing. One more thing, though, is that if you want to have Draco displayed with all of his accessories, I imagine a lot of people would probably give him the broom and the snitch and leave the wand off to the side. However, what I would do is equip him with the broom and the wand, stick him off to the side of the base, take a clear cylinder from your own collection, and then put the snitch in that. So now you can display him with all three accessories, and it looks like the snitch is flying. Because obviously, like, Draco's not a good seeker. He's not going to catch the snitch. So yeah, overall, an alright figure. Not a fantastic one, but he's pretty good. So here we have a minifigure of my favorite Harry Potter character. This is Luna Lovegood. And just like the 2010 Luna figure, this version is based off of the outfit she wore on the Hogwarts Express in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. And I think it's a pretty good figure. Again, actually one of my favorites. Starting off, her accessories are a brown wand, which is nothing special, but what is special is this exclusive 2x3 tile printed with the Quibbler. Now, this isn't the first Quibbler we're getting. We actually also got one printed on a light gray, actually, 2x2 tile in 2010. But I think this just looks a lot better. It's far more colorful. Just a great print. I like the guy wearing Spectre specs, and Pandemonium at the Ministry. Unfuzz the mystery. And there's also just some lines down at the bottom, which I imagine would be like the names of the editors and stuff, so Xenophilius Lovegood. Yeah, great print. Also, nearly forgot to mention, there's some nice silver outlining around the words, and also there's some silver sparkles which shine. Cute accessory. Anyway, for Luna herself, this is just another super high quality figure. If my camera would focus, that would be nice. There we go. Okay, so starting off, she gets a newly molded hairpiece that, as of the moment, is exclusive to Luna. It's in the same bright yellow color that Draco's hair is in, and it's just a really great mold. Now, there is a bit of space left around the back, but there's a lot of great molding here, so I can excuse that. Frames the face perfectly. And the reason for that, obviously, is so that the hair doesn't interfere with the Indiana Jones messenger bag piece, which is just a really great piece to get in purple. I don't think it's new in purple, but it is nice to get one, since they're certainly not common in that color. And I'm glad that LEGO didn't just try to print the bag. I feel as though this looks much better. Anyway, taking that off. Didn't have to remove the head to take it off, but I did anyway. I'm smart. Anyway, you can see that I think Luna's face is a fantastic likeness to actress Ivana Lynch. It's just really good. The eyebrows, the eyes, the lips, the mouth, it's just very well done. Perfect expression, very inquisitive while simultaneously not really caring at all, which I think is a great way to describe Luna Lovegood. And she is the first figure in the series to get an alternate face with her Spectre specs, which, personally, I think this is a fine expression, but I could have done without it. I would have preferred for some of the other figures to get alternate expressions over this. And heck, I kind of would have preferred to just get Luna with a different actual expression instead of these, since we already had the 2010 Luna with these. But I mean, I get that was like forever ago, so this is great for newer fans to get this face. So it's good. I just hope that when LEGO does do Order of the Phoenix sets in 2020, I guess, or maybe summer 2020, or maybe winter 2020 if we're lucky, because the first wave sold really well. Maybe LEGO's just making it an every 6 months theme now, which would be awesome. I hope that then we get Luna with just different expressions. No more Spectre specs. Anyway, Luna's torso is pretty well done. Just a tiny bit of negative space on the sides, which I think is good. You have the buttons, wacky stitching. It's just a great coat piece. No back printing on this variant, which I guess is a bit of a downgrade from the 2010 version, until you realize that the hairpiece covers up the entire torso, so it's no harm, no foul. Luna's legs have this very nice fabric skirt piece with all sorts of great printing around all four sides. My one complaint is that it does go down a bit far, but there is a reason for that. Because basically this is another pair of mid-legs, and for that, the belt is the same as a normal minifigure. So if the skirt was just like 2 plates tall, which I think would have been a good ratio, you would have still been able to see the belt, which would have been awkward. So they decided to go with 3 long, which covers up the belt, but I think it looks a bit awkward because it goes down to her feet. Personally, I would have gone with like a 2.5 tall skirt. That's just me, though. And, yeah, underneath the skirt, a pair of just plain blue unprinted mid-legs, which is great. This is currently not only the only figure to get blue unprinted mid-legs, but, well, the only figure to get mid-legs in any color that's not black. So that's great to get. These are probably the most useful. Well, black and blue are very useful, both unprinted, I mean. The unprinted versions are super useful. The printed versions are a bit less so, but they're still good. But, like, this is... I imagine a ton of people are going to use these for their sig figs. Since, I mean, obviously, blue jeans or whatever. And yeah, that is Luna as I quickly try to reassemble her in order to, move on to the next figure, ASAP. That works. There. And, yeah. Luna's an awesome figure. One of my favorites. Moving on. So here we have another one of my favorites in the series, Neville Longbottom. Starting with his accessories, which I think for a lot of people are the main draw to this figure. He gets the standard dark brown wand, as well as a mandrake. So you get this pot piece in dark orange, and then 2 new pieces for the mandrake. You have this new leaf piece, which currently, in addition to being here, is also available with the giraffe guy in the LEGO Movie 2 minifigures. And it has 3 leaves on top, a mini peg on the bottom as well, normal peg. Yeah, then you have the mandrake, which is a potato. I mean, I feel as though maybe they could have done a bit of this is a new mold, but it kind of looks like a reuse, funnily enough, because, you just have the stubby little arms and the face just printed on there, which looks a bit awkward in my opinion, but I can get past it. It's certainly an upgrade from the 2007 mandrakes, at least this one does get arms. But I think it looks good enough, just not fantastic. And that is a stud at the top, with a peg receptor, and a peg with a mini peg at the bottom. So yeah, but aside from that, this Neville is still a fantastic figure. Now, at first I was wondering why they decided to go with the herbology outfit. I mean, Neville is good at herbology, but I kind of thought they would do something else for him, until I realized that the headphones hairpiece works absolutely perfectly for Neville. And this prevents them from having to either use an inaccurate hairpiece or create a new one, so good call. I'm just curious as to what they'll do when in the later sets when they have to make a Neville that doesn't have headphones. But yeah, just a recolor of the headphones hair, but it works well for the earmuffs. Neville has some pretty simple printing on his torso back, but it looks pretty nice. Some also pretty simple printing on the front, but again, very well done. Wrinkles, pockets, and you can just see a bit of the shirt and tie underneath. He gets a pair of plain black unprinted mid-legs. My favorite part of the figure has to be the face, because that is such a... I'm completely blanking on what the actor's name is. Such a good Neville face, how about? Removing the hairpiece. I mean, you have the eyebrows, which are raised, because he's a bit concerned. He has the eyes, the mouth, buck teeth, chin. Just a great face. Turning it around. We have this alternate face where he's been stunned by the mandrake and is going to fall briefly unconscious. And yeah, just another really good one. Honestly, I think this alternate face could work for basically Neville at any age. You could even use this for Deathly Hallows, in my opinion. So, yeah. Great design for Neville. Cute figure. Great figure. Great character. Another one of my favorites. Yeah, that's Neville. Next up, we have Cho Chang, who has a seriously off skin tone. Like, this is a well-done figure overall, but why does she have, like, fluorescent orange skin? She had the same skin tone as, like, Daniel Radcliffe, so she should have just been in the standard light nougat color. But aside from that, I think this is a very good figure. Starting with her accessories, she has a brown wand, as well as this nice nougat owl, since of course there were multiple scenes with her and Harry in the owlry, so I think it's a good choice. This owl, at first I thought it was a new design, but it's actually just a new color, and the print is the brown owl print from the 2010 Harry Potter sets. Just an interesting thing I noticed. Anyway, so she gets the rubber hairpiece from the Spooky Girl figure from LEGO Minifigure Series 12. The face print, I think, works pretty well for the actress who portrayed Chang, just again being on the completely wrong color head. I definitely would have liked to see an alternate face, where maybe she was just sad or despondent, you know, for more of the Order of the Phoenix idea, but I think this is fine, and I imagine that when LEGO does do Order of the Phoenix sets, or maybe even in Goblet of Fire, since it does seem as though we are getting a Yule Ball set, as well as maybe a Rescue from the Merpeople set, so maybe we could get a Cho in one of those. But anyway, I hope that then we'll get alternate faces for Cho, as well as definitely the correct skin color. Her torso is... Hey, wait, that's just a standard Hufflepuff torso. About time we got one of those. I mean, like, I think it's odd that they chose to have the... Did I say Hufflepuff? Oh god, I said Hufflepuff. I mean Ravenclaw. I'm a Ravenclaw and I messed that up. I guess that means that I'm not a very good Ravenclaw then, eh? But yeah, anyway, so yeah, I've shamed myself. Sorry about that. Please forgive me. I don't deserve to be forgiven, so I'm not going to ask again. Anyway, good torso print. Weird that this comes in the minifigure series, while the Slytherin, Hufflepuff, and obviously Gryffindor versions came in the sets. On one hand, it's nice because it means that Ravenclaws can get torsos for them much more easily. On the other hand, it's weird because the Great Hall is probably going to be on shelves for a few years, and this minifigure series is, well, it only lasted like 6 months, not even, more like 5 months. So yeah, odd choice, but it's basically just like, it's the standard Hogwarts jumper print, just with the Ravenclaw colors. Creased around the back. Yeah. Cho has an unprinted gray skirt, which I think looks a lot more odd than Luna's, because, again, I mean, it's just completely unprinted, and she has plain black mid-legs, so I'm not even going to bother to take those off. They're the same exact legs that are on Neville. Yeah. Cho's another figure like Draco that's just disappointing. There's a lot of lost potential here, mainly in the face, but also in the fact that, like, why is Cho in just generic Ravenclaw uniform? I think it would have made more sense if they'd included a Ravenclaw in, like, the Whomping Willow set, maybe. And then for Cho, they could have given her, not robes, but in the Order of the Phoenix, she had a black skirt as well as sort of like a jacket, I guess. Or, well, that's not the right word. Whatever you want to call it. Like, I don't know, like an armed vest is the best way to put it, I guess, if that makes any sense at all. It doesn't. Whatever, her outfit in Order of the Phoenix would have been much cooler to get than this. This is an alright figure, but again, bit disappointing. The very last mid-legged figure in the series is also probably the oddest choice in the series. Here we have Dean Thomas. A very minor character, especially in the movies, but even in the books, Dean didn't do all too much. Starting with his accessories, he gets the dark brown wand, as well as this nicely printed Gryffindor flag. Dean is an artist, so I'm betting that he probably made that himself. And I do like how we actually get the, the Lego flame pieces and feather pieces used in that design. Just a really nice touch, in my opinion. Also the Lego Knight's helmet. And that's just attached to a standard 4-long bar. Remember when these used to be Lego Harry Potter wands? Those were the days. But anyway, so yeah, so Dean himself, well, he's, again, just kind of a strange character to choose. He's a very well-done figure. The hairpiece is the Finn hairpiece in dark brown, which is not new, but it's the first time I'm getting the piece in that color, and this is also by far the best figure to use the piece in that color. So that's good. The face print, I think, is good for the actor. Correct skin tone as well. Just, I think, good expression. Yeah, good face print. The torso and legs are printed with the Gryffindor scarf, which is my favorite thing about the figure, in my opinion. Well, obviously, if it's my favorite, it's my opinion. You can really tell that I'm just coming up with all this off the cuff. Anyway, the robes are pinned up like Hermione's, and yeah, he has the scarf. I know I and a lot of other people were confused at first as to why they weren't just using the Ninjago movie scarf, but I think this looks a lot cleaner, in my opinion. And also it can trail down all the way to the legs, which, while maybe not entirely accurate, I just think it looks great. So obviously, again, different print for the mid-legs. This is a lot less useful as you can really only use it with the torso, but I think this is still a good figure, and I like that. Again, it just makes the figure seem high quality. Back printing this time, the top of the hood is covered up by the scarf. So yeah, that's Dean Thomas, the last Gryffindor robe-wearing student in this lineup, and also the last mid-leg using figure in the lineup. So yeah, surprisingly good figure. I was not expecting him to be one of my favorites. In fact, when he first got revealed, I was annoyed that they put him here instead of Lee Jordan, who I still kind of think would have been a more sensible inclusion since he's a more major character. He still had the scarf, so really all they would have had to change was the face and hairpiece. But overall, I think this is fine. I like this. This is a great figure. So yeah, so that's the first half of the Harry Potter part of the series done with. Now let's move on to figure number 9, who shall not be named. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's Voldemort. Or Voldemort. You know, it would have been nice if JK had told anyone that it was pronounced Voldemort before they made 8 movies. Anyway, starting with the accessories, which are my favorite parts of this figure, we get the wand piece in white, which is exclusive as of the moment, and that's just a great color to get it in. And also, we get Nagini, who is a new snake mold. After so many years of just having the same rattlesnake piece, here we finally have a new snake. And it's very long. At the back you have that little bar that you can see here, the little indents. That is unfortunately the only place where this can connect any sort of bars or studs, so it is a bit awkward to try and get it on his stand, but it can be done. Anyway, up at the front you have some very snake-like head molding with just some black dot printing for the eyes, good mouth. I mean, yeah, it's just a very well-done snake. Now, while the design for Nagini is exclusive to this figure, the piece itself also comes in the huge $400 direct-to-consumer Hogwarts set as the Basilisk, which I think is another good use. This is just a really good new snake mold. I'm in love with it. Voldemort himself, though, I mean, he's alright. Simple, I guess. Like, even compared to a lot of others, this is quite the simple figure. The face printing is... I think the expression just looks a bit dumb, in my opinion. He looks like a silly man. I like the coloration around the eyes, but the mouth just looks stupid to me. They should have had a bit more expression there. I never thought I'd be saying this, but I actually prefer the 2010 Voldemort face. And then the torso and legs, I mean, you just have the little bit of white at the collar, and then you just have black lines on the dark green. Good to have the new dress piece, but no back printing on that or the torso. I mean, yeah, Voldemort, he's a fine figure. He's just kind of bland. In my opinion, the best parts about this figure are the wand and the snake. However, to be fair, this is the only way to get Voldemort at the moment, and I do prefer this version at least to the LEGO Dimensions Team Pack version. Although that might be because that one was just the 2010 Voldemort, but downgraded in every conceivable way. So yeah, I would still go for the 2010 Voldemort, or even maybe the 2005 version, but this figure is none too shabby. So here we have Dobby the House Elf, who is another just fantastic figure in my opinion. And, his headpiece is a brand new mold. He's actually the only figure in the series that doesn't have a standard minifigure head, so that makes him pretty easy to feel in the bags. And I know a lot of people prefer the 2010 Dobby head to this version. I have the 2010 version, and I can say that I think I like this more. Now, it's not like a clear victory. I do prefer the eyes on the 2010 version, how they bulge out, and also I prefer the sand green to the olive green used here, but I think the mouth here is a lot better, and also the printing around the eyes is better. And then just the general head mold, like the nose, ears, back of the head, it's an improvement. Dobby's accessory is Tom Riddle's diary, which is the Nexo Knights book piece in black, with printing on the front to show the nice edges, as well as sort of the diary having been stabbed into with a basilisk fang. Inside, you have the sock on a page, surrounded by some ink splots, and this was insane to me, because after so many years, I finally realized that the reason that in the other versions of the Dobby set that came with the diary, the sock was printed on a tan tile, because that's supposed to be the page inside the book. I never realized it until, Lego you could actually put it inside the book. So that's pretty wacky. Anyway, Dobby's torso it's pretty good in my opinion. You have the simple, just rag tied up. I think it's a pillowcase. So you have that tied up. You have all sorts of, schmutz on it. Yeah, wrinkles, turn it around to the back, just more of the same, but it's good. Some nice shading as well. The legs are double molded, which is a new kind of double molding for short legs, where it's double molded like standard minifig legs. On the top you have tan, and on the bottom you have flesh. So that's just good. That is a good thing in my opinion. Now, this is another figure where I do have a slight preference on how to display it. That's not that it requires extra pieces from your own collection. Basically, what I would do is remove the sock from the book and just have Dobby just hold the sock separately, if it'll go into his hand. So hold it as its own tile, and then just put any old tan tile into the book and close that up. So now you can actually see Dobby with his sock. So yeah, that's just a simple thing I do to make the figure display a bit better. And yeah, that's Dobby, one of the better figures in the series in my opinion. Just a wonderfully done design. So this is the first of several professors in the series. Here we have Divination Professor Sybil Trelawney. And this is just another phenomenal minifigure. Starting off with the accessories, we have the dark brown wand, as well as two new molds for a teacup, which is just in white. This already isn't exclusive, as it also comes in the Harry Potter Bricktober set, but it's very well done. You have some molding around the top, stud at the bottom, handle with a mini peg at the bottom. Yeah, good stuff. The saucer, though, is currently exclusive, although I imagine it'll get used for something else soonish. Although then again, it hasn't yet in the entire first season of 2019, so I don't know. Anyway, that is good with some teal printing and some bronze printing around it for some design work. That's just a very good piece, in my opinion. The other thing about this that I think is just so fantastic is the newly molded hairpiece, which is double molded, so you have the nougat hair, and then you have the dark orange wrap, and the wrap has a lot of great printing on it, so you have some olive green, some brown, dark red. It's just a very well done thing. And the hair itself, it's just very well molded around all sides. There you can see the double molding on the inside. One thing that's a bit odd is that the hairpiece actually does rest a good amount away from the back of the torso, which is kind of interesting, although I imagine that maybe could be because she was originally supposed to come with a messenger bag, like Luna did, which I think would have been an alright inclusion, but at the same time, I'm not bummed that they didn't include it. It's just sort of something that I think that could have been the intention. Alternatively, maybe for a cape? Or maybe, and this is probably most likely, they just thought the hairpiece looked best like that, which I think is perfectly fine. The head print looks a lot like the actress who portrayed her. You have the big magnified eyes. I like how in the lenses of the glasses you actually have a bit of light, like white around the edges to make it look a bit more like glass. You can see her eyebrows up at the top of the glasses, as well as her mouth, and you just have a couple lines on the sides of that. Good face print. Torso and legs are sand green, my favorite color. And just some great designs with some dark tan and olive green for all sorts of, like, branch details. A lot of silver bibbles and baubles hanging from her neck. Around the bottom, you have more great detail with some gold, dark green. No back printing, but I think it's fine because the front is just so great. I think that makes up for it. So yeah, that is Professor Trelawney. Another one of the really great figures in the series. So here we have Triwizard champion Cedric Diggory, who I think is a pretty good figure. Starting off with the Triwizard Cup, you can see that it's just the standard LEGO trophy piece, which I think is a bit of a cop-out. It probably could have used a new mold, or at least a different color other than gray. I think maybe they should have done it in, like, clear with silver printing. Maybe some, like, metallic blue printing. I don't know, this just seems a bit lame. The lettering is super basic, but that is actually accurate. And then around the top, you just have some gunmetal. I mean, it's a fine accessory, just could have been a lot better, in my opinion. And his other accessory is just a brown wand, and I think the figure is reasonably well done, at least to the best I should expect. The hairpiece is an existing one that I think was introduced for the Dog Show Judge figure in 2016, I want to say. And I think it's a good piece. Or was it 2017? It was introduced at some point, how about? And I think it's good. You have the eyebrows, one raised a bit. He has a very confident smile on his face. The torso is rather simple, with just the black and the yellow sides, with a bit of wrinkles and the Hogwarts crest. On the back you have Diggory with a red star, and on the sides the legs. Probably the most useful thing about the figure, in my opinion, aside from maybe the hairpiece, is you have the legs in dark gray with some stripes printed on the sides, and that just looks great. So yeah, Cedric is probably one of the simpler figures in the series, or more accurately, there isn't anything too remarkable about him, but he's still very well done. Looks a lot like the character he's meant to portray. Yeah, good figure. Moving from good to great, here we have Phileas Flitwick. And yeah, this is just a really great figure. Starting with the accessories, he gets a brown wand, as well as this new design for a megaphone. After like 40 years of LEGO using the same megaphone piece, this is a new design. It has a clip at the bottom for a figure to hold it. At the back you have a stud with a peg, so you could stick something coming out of this, and yeah, just a very good new megaphone piece. His other accessory is just a brown wand. And the figure, I feel, is very well detailed. He gets a newly molded hairpiece that I think is really great. I mean, just looking at it from all sides, it has a lot of great design with the part around the back. The actual part is in the middle. Yeah, just a very good sort of dorky hairpiece. The face print, I think, looks pretty good for Phileas Flitwick. Obviously, forgot to mention, this is obviously based off of how he appeared in films 3 through 8, I guess. Not how he appeared in the first two. I imagine that we'll never get a LEGO minifigure of how Flitwick appeared as a really old man in the first two movies. Never been quite sure why he changed so drastically. But anyway, he has the silver glasses, big mustache. Honestly, I think this face print would also work great for, like, Theodore Roosevelt, maybe, if you're trying to make minifigures of some important presidents of the United States. You know, for some reason. Anyway, he gets the LEGO Batman movie bow tie piece, which just frames his face and chin very well. Removing that, you can see his torso print, which has the collar at the top, the waistcoat, and yeah, just a very good, just well done torso print as well. No back printing, but he does have these fabric coattails, which are actually, they go down further than his legs, so they will automatically just start to just curve back, which I think works perfectly fine. It has a very good look to it. And yeah, that is Professor Flitwick. Good figure. Great figure, in fact. I always loved the 2010 version of Flitwick, and I think this one is even better. Just struggling to think of things to talk about while I put him back together. Great figure. Good stuff. One of my favorites. There we go. Got it. Check. So here we have Professor Alistair Mad-Eye Moody. And starting off, this guy has the most accessories of any figure in the series. He gets 4. Starting off, we get a brown extra hairpiece, and I'll show you what that's all about later. And to go with that, you also get this vial, which is actually a maraca piece, just molded with 2 new colors. Yeah, we'll get to those later and what those have to do with the figure. But Moody, for what we have here, is a fantastically designed figure. His accessories with this version are a bit bland, I guess. You get just a wand and then a stick. But I think the figure itself is pretty good. He gets a newly molded hairpiece in light tan. That just is great from all angles, basically. Frames the face well. The face print, I think, is pretty great. Looks a lot like the actor. You have all sorts of scars on it, as well as, of course, the magic eye. A bit unfortunate that the eye is so small, and also just black. Would have liked to have gotten it bigger with blue in there, but it's all right. The torso with all the many different straps is very good with the trench coat over it. That's a great print. The legs are pretty well done. You can see you have the single silver foot at the bottom, which is good. However, I think it's a bit odd how that has the foot while the other side just has a standard leg. It's a bit inconsistent. I would have preferred if maybe on the other side we would have gotten like dark brown for the bottom, you know, so then we could have a boot. Just a minor complaint. His torso around the back, you just have some stitching and some creases. So yeah, good figure, but what makes him even better is that we can remove his staff, or you can just keep it, but I prefer to have it removed when you do this, and instead replace it with the vial of Polyjuice Potion, and then twist his head around, put on his hairpiece, and he is revealed to be none other than Barty Crouch Jr. And yeah, hairpiece I think works well. The face is good. I remember before this figure came out, a lot of people were super excited for it because they really wanted to get a David Tennant face to use for the, I want to say the 10th Doctor in Doctor Who. Anyway, that's not going to work out because this guy is licking his lips like a madman. But I think it's a good face print for the character. Angry eyebrows, stubble, evil smile, crazy. Yeah, I think it's a good figure. Maybe I would have gone with dark brown or black for the hairpiece, but that's just a minor thing. So yeah, that is Barty Crouch Jr. And one more thing. If you're going to display him like this, as Barty Crouch Jr., then what I would do is, to still have the staff in the picture, I would just put a stud with a hole in it at the bottom and then just stick the staff in that. However, if you do want to display him as Mad Eye, as I quickly switch him back around to finish off the shot, what I do is I would make just a little stand, a little potion stand, just out of a telescope and a 1x1 with a clip. Clip the potion into that and stick it off to the side. That's just how I do it. Feel free to do it differently. So yeah, that is Mad Eye Moody. So now let's move on to one of my favorite figures in the series. And I know I'm saying that a lot, but that's because there are so many good figures in the series. But let's move on to another really great one. So here we have the series' second version of Harry Potter. This time he's under his invisibility cloak. Or, well, in this case, it's kind of a high-visibility cloak. And, you can see that this figure is based off of the Philosopher's Stone, of course. I think it's just a good variant to get of Harry. You can see, start with his hairpiece, is the same one that comes in all of the new sets, of course. His face print is new. He has a different expression with an open-mouth smile. Looks very earnest. No alternate, but that's fine. But the cloak is the coolest thing about this figure. It's a new fabric piece that is shimmery all around. Super shiny, I love it. Very reflective. And if we were to remove that, you can see that underneath you have the design for what the invisibility cloak looks when it's not being worn. So you just have its dark red with all sorts of nice sand blue and brown. You have stars, moons. It just looks so cool. A wonderful design. And obviously, I just had it slightly open for Harry, but if you wanted to, you could have it be completely closed up, and then you also won't have it sort of poking up around the shoulders. So yeah, this is another way to do it. In fact, that's probably what's recommended. Anyway, removing that, though, so we can get a look at the figure under the cloak, since there is still a good figure under the cloak. His accessory, which just fell off, is just a brown wand. So no other accessory. But then again, like, I can't think of anything else. I mean, maybe they could have done the screaming book, but that would have interfered with the cloak, and you wouldn't have been able to see it anyway. So, yeah, I think it's perfectly fine to just have that as an accessory. I guess maybe they also could have done the Hagrid's new lamp piece, but that wouldn't have been a new accessory, and again, it would have messed with the cloak. So I think it's a good choice to not to just include the wand. The cloak itself makes this very collectible. Anyway, the torso is simple but well done. Pajamas. I feel as though the skin tone is a bit too pink, which is weird because normally with a lot of prints, Lego, they even on light colors like white, they don't print it enough, but here they printed it a bit too much. And that's also the case on the feet, where you can see that they printed him with bare feet, which is pretty nice. However, again, it's a bit more pink, so it kind of looks like he just has some weird slippers, in my opinion. So, bit of a miss there, but it's just a very minor thing, and that printing does go all the way around, which is good. Back printing. Yeah, so Harry Potter and the cloak. Overall, pretty good figure without the cloak, but, and this is a big but, with the cloak, he is transformed from pretty great to, if this would just go on the neck, okay, then just one, spinning around. In my opinion, once you put on the cloak, he instantly goes from being pretty good to being one of the best figures in the series. And speaking of that, while there are still a whole slew of Fantastic Beasts figures to get to, there is only one more Harry Potter-based character in the series. So, let's get to him now. So here we have another figure that is just very collectible in my opinion. This is Professor and Headmaster of Hogwarts, Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore. And this is just a fantastic figure. Starting with the accessories, you get a dark tan wand, as well as the pensieve, which is the Lego plate piece in silver with this very nice metallic blue printing on the inside. That's just very well done. The hairpiece is a new double-molded piece where you have his hat with the gold tassel printed at the top. Other than that, like, the hairpiece is basically just the same one that comes with the Richard Harris Dumbledore in the Great Hall. Obviously, this is meant to represent Michael Gambon's portrayal of the character. And, yeah, I imagine that piece will stay exclusive. I imagine that LEGO will use, like, the beard for future Dumbledore figures, but I imagine that they'll just use the same hairpiece they used in the Great Hall for this Michael Gambon Dumbledore in Prisoner of Azkaban Sets On. Anyway, yeah, the beard is another new piece. It is... I kind of thought they would just use Vitruvius's beard from the Lego movie, just bringing him in so you can see that they are pretty similar, but Dumbledore's is wider and doesn't have a tie on it, so I'm glad they made a new piece, even if it was maybe a little unnecessary. I think it looks good. Good shape. It looks Michael Gambon Dumbledore-ish. Removing that beard, you can see the single-sided face. I think it's fine that it's single-sided, since it is going to be mostly covered by the beard anyway, which has some gray and dark gray facial hair, some wrinkles, the eyebrows, the glasses. It's a very good face, in my opinion. The torso and dress piece are molded in a very light blue with some darker blue hues used for the actual printing. So you have the robes on the bottom with the with sort of, I guess, his vest up top, and then you just have the very sparkly robes on the sides, which is a very good figure. No back printing on him either, or well, not either, since the last figures we looked at did, but more rather, he's another figure that doesn't have back printing, but again, his back's always going to be covered by the hairpiece, so I think that's perfectly fine. So yeah, that is Albus Dumbledore, the very last figure from the Harry Potter side of things, but I think it's another really good figure, another very collectible one. Yeah, great design. But the series isn't quite over, as we still have 6 figures to cover from Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. So, let's get to that now. Okay, scratch that. I just looked at the footage and realized that this video is already nearly an hour long. So, I don't want to have a video that's more than an hour, so I think I'll cut it off here. So that is the end of part 1 of this review. In part 2, we'll be covering the 6 Fantastic Beasts characters, as well as the packaging for the series, the pamphlet, exciting stuff I know, rarities, and my personal picks for the best and worst figures of the line. Worst being a much stronger word, more like best and least best. Anyway, so yeah. Thanks so much for watching part 1 of this super huge review that I've been working for months to finally get on the road. And so yeah, thank you all so much for watching one more time, and I will see all of you in the next video. Farewell, everyone.